Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I am back with another video. Simon Says Stamp is releasing their Spooky Simon collection for 2017, so I'm using some dies from that new collection, and I'm also using an older set from Pretty Pink Posh just for the sentiment, which is called Halloween Friends. With Stamptember, Simon releases beautiful glitter paper. There was like a silver, a gold, and a white. I am using the white. I've die cut all of my pieces, and now, are you ready to watch me just completely mess everything up? If you are, you're in the right place, because I do. Oh yes, I do. So anyway, I have cut out all of my pieces. I'm going to do some distress inking in the background, because, you know, it's all dies. Like, you guys saw it, right? It's all die cuts, which are not my forte. But I'm like, you know what? They're cute. I'm going to make this work. It's going to be... It's going to be good. So I'm starting with Distress Oxides for my sky. I'm sure if you have watched, I think I've done like 3 videos with this color combination, because I just can't stop myself. I have no self-control. Literally none. Oh, I did change the Wilted Violet though, because normally it was Seedless Preserve. So I changed the Wilted Violet because I knew I wanted the house to be a bright purple. So there, how's that for variety? Not doing the same thing all the time. See, I'm showing you different things. Except for this Perfect Pearls, which is not different at all because I've been putting it on every single card that I make. And this time I wasn't even like, I was so lazy I didn't even get out like an acrylic block. I just mixed it right in the lid. It's super classy over here. And then I wanted bigger splatters, so I got like violent with it. You see how violently I was flicking those Perfect Pearls. Anyway, so for the grass, I'm switching over to just regular Distress ink. It is a little bit brighter, but mainly the reason that I switched over to the Distress ink is because it had the colors that I wanted. I didn't show you in the list of them. They're the Mowed Lawn, but like them after I put down the Twisted Citron, I was like, I'm gonna try to blend this into peeled paint. Am I a crazy person? No, I'm not a crazy person. So I went and got the Mowed Lawn, and it worked out. It was good. So I'm just adding a little bit of that Twisted Citron. I like to go over my Distress ink blending twice to make sure I have really good saturation. I just wanted to show you here, like I'm going to turn it into a Halloween card, but look at how cute that was just by itself. It was totally adorable. So I wanted to put, these bats are a die cut, but rather than use them as a die cut, I just decided I was going to use it as a stencil. So I just cut it out of the top of the piece of white that I used to cut out the house, and I'm holding it in place with some just some Eclipse masking paper and some washi tape, just so I can put some black soot right through the bat part so that it just stencils on. And then each time I'm just kind of checking to make sure that I have good placement. So I know what you're thinking. Like, you're like, Kelly, but you said that you messed everything up, and so far everything looks like it's going really well. And you're correct. Thus far it is going really well. I did get sick of moving that piece, so I actually kind of like fumbled my way through just finding a little marker. So rather than inking up the sponge, I just used it with what was left over just to kind of hold the place of the bat, and then that way I could move the outside frame and just line them up so that I could make them darker. Speaking of that outside frame, is that thing not just completely the cutest thing you've ever seen? I totally love it. So I wanted to color the house purple. I considered doing it with the Distress ink. In hindsight, I kind of wish I would have. So I wanted the house to kind of be like backlit. So I was like, well, I'll just color in the center dark, and then I'll do the sides light. Except I took this VO9 all the way up to the top of the roof. Like, I just took it all the way up. Don't do what I'm doing. It should not be, it should not be that way. There should be a border on all of the edges, all of them, not just the ones on the side. So then once I had the VO9 down, I went back in and I tried, guys. I mean, I did. I tried with the VO6 to kind of lighten up those edges. It wasn't happening, and I was just like, meh, I'm moving on. I'm not redoing it. It is what it is. I've already done all this inking and stenciling and who's its and what's its, and so this house is just going to be dark. It just is what it is. Once I had the house all put together, I was going to start putting together the card, and here's where things kind of start to go awry. First of all, I'm using Tamamana multi-glue, and I am putting glue all over this tree. For no good reason whatsoever, because none of that touches this bottom piece. It just doesn't. It does not touch there. So I ended up just trying to like make sure everything fit correctly. And so I kind of laid it on my card base. It didn't make, I guess it didn't leave too big of like a sticky mess, but it did a little bit. Once I have this adhered down there, I am going to just trim off the edge of that. And then I decided that I really, really wanted some bats. I wanted some bats in there that were smaller. And so I took a pen and I drew the bats, and the bats were a train wreck. Like, I couldn't stop making the bats, but the bats did not look good. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna put on some foam tape. I'm gonna adhere this thing, and then I will try to fix the bats. So I put this on, and then I was like, wow, that's a lot of black space. A lot. I used what can only be described as the smallest pieces of foam tape in the world to adhere this ghost, which I cut out from that white glitter paper. And then I am going to go in and fix those bats, which were just horrendous. So I used a black Copic marker, which has a thicker nib, which was so much better. Oh, my Lord have mercy. It was so much better. Then I wanted the sentiment to curve up around this oval, and I spent oh my Lord, so much time, an exorbitant amount of time trying to get this sentiment curved. I just kept messing with it, and finally I found it finally worked. But I'm telling you guys, it was like 5 minutes. Usually it's much simpler than that. So I used my embossing buddy, you saw me do that, Versamark, stamped it down. And then I'm going to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. I really tried to make sure I didn't get any in my oval. You can see here I was not successful. That, again, not a big deal. I just went in with a dry paintbrush and just kind of like scooped it all off, and then I heat set it. I would not recommend doing what I did, which is stamping the sentiment afterward. I got lucky that there was enough foam tape underneath there, and then heat setting. Do that before you adhere it. So it was a lot of black space, and so I wanted to like kind of frame it in. So I just took my white gel pen and just freehanded this tombstone looking thing. Like, oh, what? So then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna Christina Warner it. I'll add some stitched lines in there. It'll really fill in the space. And it was still awful, and it still looked like a tombstone. So now I'm just like, I'm gonna erase it. So I'm taking that same black Copic that I used to save the bats, and I'm just coloring right over it. Now, the only problem with this is it's not particularly noticeable. However, it is not an exact color match. So in order to distract from that, I am going to use these Nuvo drops in Glacier White. And I am going to build myself like a little stippling dot frame. That's what I'm going to do. And so this is why I tell you guys like to just like try things, because while the card did give me some problems, I love this frame. This frame came out like amazing, and I will be using that again for sure. So I just added some clear Wink of Stella to the house, and then I called it. So I ended up liking how the card came out, but it was a long walk. It was a long walk. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I know this is a shorter video for me, but I will be back soon with a longer one. Don't you worry. So thank you guys. I will catch you on the next video. Bye.